The taxi stand sat at the edge of the estate, where the street lights thinned and the road turned narrow. Jayan stood beside his father's old cab and listened to the quiet. It was not the kind of quiet he remembered from childhood. Back then, there had been noise, radios playing late-night songs, men laughing over cheap coffee, the low rumble of engines warming up before midnight shifts. Now the place felt hollow. The paint on the signboard had faded. One fluorescent tube above the office. Door flickered, then steadied, then flickered again. The air was thick with heat. Even after sunset, the ground held the day's warmth. Jayan wiped his palms on his jeans and looked at the taxi. The car was older than most, still on the road. Cream-colored, slightly yellowed with age. A thin crack ran across the corner of the windshield. He had helped his father wash it on Sundays when he was small, standing on a plastic stool to reach the windows. His father had driven the night route, more than any other driver at this stand. Always after midnight, always alone. Jian used to wait up for him. He remembered sitting at the kitchen table, homework half finished, listening for the sound of tires turning into their lane. His father would come in smelling of rain and smoke. Even on dry nights, he never spoke about his fares from that route. If Jian asked, his father would only say, "Just road and trees." Nothing else. But the other drivers talked. They talked in low voices, thinking the boy could not hear. About passengers who sat too still. About mirrors that showed empty seats. About meters that ran without anyone inside. Now those same drivers were older. Some had retired. A few still came by the stand to drink kopi and play cards. When they saw Jayan that evening, their voices slowed. "You're Salim's boy," one of them said, squinting at him through cigarette smoke. Jayan nodded. "You. Staying long?" "Not sure," Jian replied. He did not tell them he had come back because the apartment felt too empty after the funeral. He did not tell them he could not sleep in his own flat, far from this place. One of the men tapped ash onto the ground. "No. One drives night route now," he said. "After what happened." Jian looked at him. "What happened?" The man shrugged. "Cars break down. Meters go crazy. Not worth it." Another driver leaned forward. "Your father, he didn't mind. Different kind of man." They did not explain further. Jian felt something tighten in his chest. Different kind of man. He had heard that at the funeral too. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the old keys. The metal was cool and heavy. He had found them in his father's drawer, tied with a red rubber band. "I'll take it out," Gayan said. The men exchanged glances, but said nothing. The engine coughed when he turned the key, then caught. A low, steady hum filled the air. The steering wheel felt worn under his hands. The seat dipped slightly where years of weight had pressed it down. He rolled down the window. The smell of damp soil drifted in from the stretch of trees behind the stand. The night route began just beyond the last row of shop houses. A narrow road that curved into darkness, lined with old rubber trees and patches of overgrown grass. Parts of it had once passed small kampong houses, but most of those were gone now, torn down, replaced by nothing. Jian pressed the gas. The taxi moved slowly at first, tires crunching over loose gravel before finding smooth tar. The estate lights faded behind him. Ahead, the road grew darker. There were fewer street lamps here. The ones that remained cast pale circles on the ground, leaving long spaces in between. Gayan kept both hands on the wheel. He told himself this was just a drive, just a road his father had taken hundreds of times. The trees leaned inward, branches high and tangled. Their leaves rustled softly, though there was barely any wind. The sound came and went, like breathing. He checked the rearview mirror. Empty. Back seat. The vinyl was cracked at the edges. A faint stain near the corner, old and brown. He looked forward again. The road felt longer than he remembered. He had cycled here once as a boy, following at a distance when his father left early. One evening, he had stopped at the first bend, afraid to go further. Now he passed that bend without thinking. The air inside the cab grew warmer. Gian adjusted the fan. It made a dry clicking sound, but pushed little air. A small roadside shrine flashed by on the left. Red jaw sticks burned low in a sand-filled part. Someone had left fresh oranges on a plate. So people still came here. He swallowed. The bus stop appeared ahead, or what was left of it. A rusted frame. The roof half collapsed. One bench missing. The signboard leaned at an angle. Its paint peeled away, so the route number was almost unreadable. This was the place the older drivers avoided mentioning. Jayan eased his foot off the gas. The taxi rolled forward slowly, headlights washing over the broken structure. Moths flickered in the beams, white wings catching light. He checked the mirror. Again, empty. His heartbeat felt louder than the engine. The bus stop passed on his left. He let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Then he heard it. A small click. Sharp, clear. Jian's eyes dropped to the dashboard. The meter light had turned on. He frowned. He had not touched it. The numbers began to move. $3.90. Dollar 4.10. $4.30. The digits climbed in steady rhythm, as if someone had just entered the cab and closed the door. Jian's fingers tightened on the wheel. Must be faulty, he muttered. He reached toward the meter, meaning to switch it off. Before his hand touched it, something tapped against the back of his seat off. Once, then again. Not from the trunk, from inside. Jian froze. The tapping came from the right side of the back seat. Light, almost polite, as if someone was trying not to disturb him. His mouth went dry. He forced himself to look. At the mirror, the seat was empty. No shape. No shadow. But the lever dipped slightly, as if weight pressed into it. The tapping stopped. In its place came a faint sound. Breathing slow. Close. The air inside the taxi felt damp, thick with a smell like wet earth after rain. Guillaume's chest rose and fell too fast now. He told himself it was the heat, the old car, his own nerves. He kept his eyes on the road. Where to? He asked, his voice low and unsteady. Silence. The meter climbed. Higher. $5.20. $5.40. The trees outside seemed to lean closer. The road ahead narrowed into a dark tunnel of branches. Guillaume's hands trembled. A whisper brushed the back of his neck. So soft, he almost thought it was the fan, and clearer. An address, spoken in a woman's voice. An address he knew did not exist. Any more his breath caught. He did not turn around. The taxi continued forward, deeper into the night route, the meter ticking steadily as if the fare had already begun. And somewhere behind him, in a seat that looked empty, someone waited. The meter keeps ticking. $5.60. $5.80. $6. Jan's eyes stay on the road, but his focus drifts to the rearview mirror again and again. The back seat looks empty, the cracked vinyl, the faint stain near the corner. Nothing else still the air has changed. It feels thick inside the cab, as if someone has closed all the windows. The smell is sharp and damp, like soil after heavy rain. Jian can almost taste it at the back of his throat. Then he hears it clearly, breathing, slow, steady, close. Not from outside, not from the engine. From behind him, his own breath turns uneven. He tries to match it, to prove to himself that the sound is just an echo of his lungs. But the rhythm does not follow him. It stays calm while his chest raises too fast. The trees on both sides of the road seem taller now. Their branches stretch inward, forming a loose tunnel over the narrow strip of tar. The headlights catch pale trunks and tangled roots. Shadows slip across the windshield as he drives. He remembers the coffee stall near the taxi stand, the plastic chairs, the chipped mugs, the older drivers leaning close when they spoke about this route. She doesn't sit straight, one of them had said. Never gives a real address, another added. She just says, "Take me home." Jian had laughed back then, brushing off their stories as old men filling silence. His father had never laughed. He would stare into his cup and say nothing. A soft shift of weight comes from the back seat. Jian's fingers tighten around the steering wheel. The mirror still shows nothing. "Where to?" he asks again, louder this time. His voice sounds strange. Inside the cab, thin and dry. For a moment, there is only the hum of the engine and the steady click of the meter. Then a whisper. It brushes the back of his ear. So close he feels the faint touch of air. Jalantiga. Kampong Batu. The words are clear. Jayan's stomach drops. That place has not existed for years. The kampong was cleared long ago, flooded after heavy rain during construction. The land was leveled for a highway that never came. He knows this because he had gone there once with his father when he was young. They stood by the muddy water and watched broken roof tiles float near the surface. No, one lives there now. He swallows. "There's nothing there," he says quietly, not sure why he is answering. The breathing continues. The meter climbs. Higher. $6.40. $6.60. Jian's eyes flick back to the mirror. The seat is empty, but this time he sees something else. A shallow dip in the cushion. Slight, almost nothing. As if someone has just leaned forward, placing their weight on their knees. The leather creases deepen slowly. Jian's heart pounds, so hard he feels it in his throat. He cannot stop himself. He turns his head. The back seat is bare. No shape, number, body, yet the cushion sinks a little more, pressing inward as though unseen hands rest on it. The smell of wet earth grows stronger. He faces forward again, breathing through his mouth now. The road narrows further. The street lamps disappear completely. Only his headlights cut through the dark. The beam catches a faded sign half hidden by vines. The paint is chipped, but he can still make out the old name of the kampong. His father's voice slips into his mind, calm and firm. Don't stop on this stretch, no matter what. He had said it once when Jian was a teenager, after a late-night dinner. No reason given, just that single warning. Jian presses harder on the gas. The engine responds with a low growl, but the car does not move any faster. The road feels soft under the tires, though he knows it is paved. The whisper comes again, Saya maho pulang. I want to go home. The words are soft, almost sad. Gion's hands tremble. He wants to open the door and run, but they are deep in the trees. Now, the estate lights are gone. His phone sits in the cup holder, but he knows there is no signal here. He forces himself to speak. Your home isn't there anymore. Silence follows. Then the breathing shifts. It grows closer, nearer to his shoulder. The indentation on the seat deepens sharply, as if someone has leaned forward all at once. The taxi swerves slightly. Jen corrects it, his pulse racing. Ahead, the road bends. The sharpest curve of the night route. He remembers cycling here as a boy and stopping far before this point. Tonight, he drives straight toward it. The trees press in tight around the bend. Their branches scrape lightly against the roof of the, like fingers dragging across metal. The meter flashes $, 7.10. Then it flickers once. The dashboard lights dim for a second. Jian feels a cold draft across the back of his neck. The engine sputters. A quick jerk. Then another no. Gayan whispers. He presses the gas pedal harder. The engine coughs again. Louder this time, like it is choking on something thick. The steering wheel vibrates under his grip. The headlights flicker. The taxi slows, even though his foot is pressed. Down, the breathing behind him remains steady, calm, patient. Please. He mutters, not sure who he is speaking, to the car or the thing in the back seat. The engine makes one final sharp sound, then it dies. The headlights stay on, but the car rolls forward in silence before coming to a slow stop at the curve. The meter continues ticking, $7.30. $7.50. Gen stares ahead. The forest around him feels alive now. Cicadas pulse in uneven rhythm. Somewhere far off, a branch snaps. The air inside the cab feels colder than before. He reaches for the key with shaking fingers and turns it. The engine whirs, but does not catch. He tries again. Nothing. The breathing behind him grows softer, almost content. Jian closes his eyes for a brief second, then opens them and looks into the mirror one more time. The seat is still empty, but the indentation remains. And this time, faintly, he sees the outline of something darker than the rest of the shadow. A blur where a face should be. No eyes, no mouth, just a pale shape that seems unfinished. It leans forward slowly. The whisper comes once more, right against his ear. Stop here. The meter stops climbing. $7.80. The number holds steady. Outside, the trees stand motionless. Inside the taxi, Jian understands something his father never said aloud. This road does not take passengers home. It keeps them here. The engine is dead. The headlights stay on, cutting two pale tunnels through the trees. Beyond that light, the forest is thick and black. Jayan sits still for a moment, his hands frozen on the steering wheel. The meter on the dashboard glows faintly. $7.80 dotted. No longer moves. The air inside the taxi feels tight, as if the space has shrunk. The smell of wet earth lingers, but the breathing behind him has stopped. He looks at the rear view mirror. The back seat is empty. The cushion has risen back to its normal shape. No dent, no shadow. Only cracked vinyl and silence. Jian swallows and reaches for the door handle. When he steps out, the night air hits his face. It is cooler outside, but not fresh. It carries the scent of leaves, mud, and something faintly sweet. Like old flowers. He closes the car door gently, careful not to let it slam. The sound of cicadas fills the darkness. Their rhythm is uneven, rising and falling like a broken wave. Somewhere deeper in the trees, water drips slowly, one drop at a time. The bend curves sharply to the right. The tar here is darker than the rest of the road, as if it is soaked up. Years of rain. Jian looks back at the taxi. Its headlights make the trunks of the nearest trees glow pale and thin. The rest of the forest remains hidden. His father's warning repeats in his mind. Don't stop on this stretch. He turns slowly, scanning the roadside. That is when he sees it. At the base of a large tree, just beyond the edge of the light, something pale rests against the trunk. He takes a few careful steps closer. It is a small offering. 3 joss sticks stand upright in a mound of sand inside a cracked porcelain bowl. The incense is still burning. Thin lines of smoke curl upward, twisting into the dark. Beside it lies a bundle of wilted white flowers. Their petals have browned at the edges. A single orange sits on a folded sheet of red paper. The offering is fresh. Somewhere has been here recently. Jayan crouches down. The soil under his shoes feels soft, almost damp. He studies the ground, half expecting to see footprints, but the dirt is uneven and old. It tells him nothing. He looks up at the tree. Its trunk is thick, roots pushing out of the earth like twisted fingers. The bark is rough and scarred. One long crack runs down the center, deep and dark. He reaches out and touches it. The bark feels cool under his palm. For a second, everything seems normal. Then the temperature shifts. A sharp chill runs through his hand and up his arm. It is sudden and clean, like dipping skin into cold water. Jian pulls his hand back quickly. The cicadas stop all at once. The silence that follows is heavy. He stands there, heart beating in his ears. Memory slips in quietly. He is younger, sitting at the coffee stall, pretending to study while the older drivers talk. She was running. One of them had said. From what? No one knows. They say she flagged a taxi here, begged him to slow down. The story had always felt unfinished. Pieces missing. His father never joined in. He would stand up and leave when the talk grew too detailed now. Standing at the bend, Jian tries to recall what little he knows. Decades ago, before the estate was built, this road cut through open land and small kampong houses. One night, a young woman ran out onto the road. Some said she had argued with her family. Some said she was trying to escape someone. Others said she had seen something in the trees. A taxi came around the bend. Too fast. The driver did not brake in time. The impact was sudden. Quiet. The body thrown against the trunk of a tree. This tree. The case was ruled an accident. Simple negligence. The driver claimed she appeared out of nowhere, but there was more. The woman's body was never claimed. No. Family came forward. No. One held a funeral. She was buried without a name. Jian stares at the crack in the bark. Rainwater has dried in it. Grooves. Old marks line the surface, as if something heavy once struck it hard. A soft breeze moves through the trees. The cicadas begin again. Slower now. He steps back, breathing unevenly. The smell of incense grows stronger. He looks down at the offering. Again. Fresh jaw sticks means someone remembers. Not just remembers, believes. A thought forms quietly in his mind. The road does not call just anyone. It waits for drivers. For those behind the wheel, he thinks of the meter clicking on by itself. The whisper asking to go home. The engine dying at this exact bend. He thinks of his father. Different kind of man. The old driver had said. Yon's chest tightens. His father had driven this route for years after the accident. Always alone. Always after midnight. Why? Guilt moves. In silence. It does not shout. It sits beside you and waits. Jin walks slowly back toward the taxi. Halfway there, he stops. He feels it again, that cold brush against. His arm-like fingers passing lightly over his skin. He turns sharply. No one stands. Behind him, the trees sway gently. Leaves whisper against each other. But near the tree, just for a second, he sees a shape. Not clear, not whole. A faint outline, pale against the dark trunk. It stands still, then it fades. Gion's breath shakes. He understands something. Now, this is not random. The road is not cursed in the way people say. It does not haunt every driver it remembers. It holds on to moments that were never settled. It waits for those who carry the weight of that night. His father had been here. Maybe not the one driving. Maybe not the one who hit her. But present, watching, silent, Jayan looks down at his own hands. They grip the car keys tightly, the same hands that now hold the wheel his father once held. A low hum breaks the silence. He looks up. The taxi headlights flicker once. The engine, still off, gives a faint click from under the hood, as if the car is breathing again. The meter inside glows softly. Still at $7.80, Jen walks back slowly and opens the driver's door. He pauses before getting in. His eyes drift once more to the tree and the offering at its base. The incense burns lower. Smoke thins into the air. Someone still comes, here to apologize or to ask for peace. Jian slides into the seat. The air inside the taxi is cooler now. The smell of wet earth has faded, replaced by something lighter, almost like rain. He places the key in the ignition. For a moment, he hesitates. His father had driven this road for years without speaking of it, not out of fear, but because he believed. He owed something. Jian turns the key. The engine starts at once. Smooth, quiet. The meter resets. $0.00. He exhales slowly. Outside, the bend stands silent, the tree rooted deep in the soil, but the road no longer feels endless. It feels watchful, and Jayan knows this drive is not over. Not yet. The apartment still smells like his father. Not strong, just faint traces that linger in corners. Medicinal oil, old fabric, a hint of smoke that never fully left his clothes. Gayon stands in the doorway of the small bedroom and listens to the quiet. Outside, traffic hums from the main road, distant, normal, nothing like the forest bend. He closes the door behind him. The curtains are half drawn. Streetlight spills through the thin fabric, casting a pale orange glow across the room. Dust floats. In the air when he moves, the bed is neatly made. His father always kept it that way. Tight corners. Pillow-scented Jayan walks to the wooden desk by the wall. It is worn smooth at the edges from years of use. On top sit stacked taxi receipts, bound together with rubber bands that have dried and cracked. He pulls the chair out and sits. For a moment, he does nothing. His mind drifts back to the bend, the tree, the offering still burning, the meter resetting to 0. The engine had started too easily, as if it had only needed him to step out. To look, he opens the first drawer. Inside are pens, a small notebook, loose coins, and more receipts. The paper is thin and yellowed, dates printed in faded ink. Roots scribbled in blue pen. Night root appears often, almost every week, sometimes every night. Gion's chest tightens. He opens the second drawer. Old photographs lie stacked in one corner. Most are small and square, their edges curled. Taxi stand. Gatherings. Festive dinners. A younger version of his father smiling stiffly at the camera. In several photos, one man stands beside him. Tall, narrow face. Thick hair combed neatly back. His arm always resting on Gion's father's shoulder. Gion remembers him vaguely. Uncle Rahim. He used to visit their home when Gion was small. He would bring oranges during Chinese New Year, sit at the table and talk softly with his father. Then, one year, he stopped coming. Yen had asked why. Transferred, his father said. Different company. But the photos stop abruptly. No more images of Rahim. After a certain date, Jen sets the photos aside and reaches deeper into the drawer. His fingers brush against something folded. A newspaper clipping. The paper is brittle. It crackles when he unfolds it. The headline is small, tucked near the bottom of the page. Young woman killed in late night. Collision. The article is short. Clinical, it describes a taxi accident along a rural stretch near the old Kompong. The driver failed to brake in time. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities ruled it a case of negligence. Driver's name. Rahim bin Salah. Gion's throat tightens. He reads the next line. The driver was cooperative and showed clear signs of shock. He claimed the woman stepped into the road. Suddenly, Gion's hands tremble slightly as he lowers the paper. Rahim, not his father, but his father, had been there. He knows it without reading further. The article mentions a second taxi trailing behind, at some distance. The driver of that vehicle gave a brief statement but declined further comment. The name of the second driver is not printed. Jian unfolds the paper, completely dot in the margin. Written in faint blue ink are 5 words. I saw her first. The handwriting is steady. It is his father's. The room feels. Smaller. Jean stares at the sentence. He reads it again. I saw her first. Not I hid her not. I caused it. I saw her first. A slow understanding settles into him. His father had been driving. Behind Rahim that night, he had seen the girl before she stepped fully onto the road. Maybe she was already there, standing near the tree. Maybe she had been running. Maybe she had looked straight at his father's headlights, and he had done nothing. Not honked, not flashed, his lights not called out. Perhaps he thought Rahim would see her too. Perhaps he hesitated. For only a second. 1 second can be enough. Jian leans back in the chair, the paper still in his hands. He remembers nights when his father returned from the night route. Pale, quiet, the smell of incense clinging to his shirt, Jian used to think. It was fear. Now it feels different. Shame is quiet. It does not cry or shout. It sits deep in the chest and grows heavier with time. Rahim took the blame publicly. The article says he was fined and suspended. After that, no more news. Jian searches the drawer again and finds another clipping, smaller. Taxi driver missing after suspension. Rahim had disappeared months later. No notes, no message. Just gone. His father never spoke of it. Jian presses his thumb against the words on the page, as if he can feel the past through the paper. He pictures the scene too. Taxis driving the night route, the girl stepping out from the trees. His father seeing her first. A split second of doubt. Rahim's headlights hitting her. The impact, the sound, after that. Silence. Jian closes his eyes briefly. He sees his father sitting at the kitchen table years later, staring at nothing. A cup of tea untouched. Different kind of man. The old driver's voice echoes in his head. Not brave, not fearless, just carrying something too heavy to put down. Jian folds the newspaper carefully and places it on the desk. He stands and walks to the wardrobe inside, hangs his father's old taxi jacket. Thin fabric, slightly faded, the company logo stitched near the chest. He takes it down and holds it close. The smell is still there. Faint incense. Jian presses the fabric to his face. His father had driven that road alone for years after the accident. Not because he was unafraid, but because he believed he owed something, maybe to the girl, maybe to Rahim, maybe to both. Each night he returned to that bend, stopping where he was told not to stop, paying something no one else could see. Jian lowers the jacket slowly. The room feels different now, not haunted, just honest. He looks back at the desk, at the line written in blue ink. I saw her first. The words no longer feel like a confession. They feel like a weight, and that weight has not disappeared with his father's death. It has shifted. Jian walks to the window and pulls the curtain aside. Outside, the street lights glow steady and warm. Cars pass without slowing. The world moves forward without knowing what happened on a dark road decades ago. He lets the curtain fall back into place. His eyes settle again on the jacket in his hands. The night route is still there. The bend still remembers, and the girl still waits, not for just any driver, for someone who carries what was left unfinished. Jian exhales slowly. Tomorrow night, he will drive again, not out of pride, not out of curiosity, but because silence has lasted long enough, and he no longer wants to inherit it. The sky is still dark when Jian turns into the taxi stand. It is not yet morning, but night is thinning. The air feels lighter, touched by the faint grey of coming dawn. The city hums far away, soft and steady, like it has no memory of the bend. In the road, he parks for a moment and sits inside the cab. The steering wheel feels familiar now. The seat no longer feels like it belongs to someone else. His father's jacket rests on the passenger seat beside him. Jian places his hand on the meter. It is off. He exhales slowly. Then starts the engine. The sound is smooth. No coughing. No struggle. He pulls onto the night route without hesitation. The trees stand silent on both sides. Their branches form a loose arch above the road. The headlights cut a narrow path through the dim light. He drives slower than before, not out of fear, out of care. The bend lies ahead, hidden by shadow and curve. Jin keeps both hands steady on the wheel. His heart beats, but it is calm. When the taxi reaches the stretch near the old bus stop, the meter clicks on, sharp, clear. The sound echoes lightly in the quiet. Cav.Jin does not jump. He glances down. $3.90. The numbers begin to rise. He keeps his eyes forward. The air inside the taxi cools gently. A faint scent of wet earth drifts in again, but it is softer now. Not heavy, not pressing. He checks the mirror. The back seat looks empty. Still, he knows he is not alone. "I know you're here," he says quietly. His voice is steady. The road curves closer. The meter continues. $4.50. $4.70. I read the article. Jian says, "I know what happened." The trees seem to listen. The cicadas are quiet at this hour. Even the wind feels still. "My father saw you first," he continues. He didn't warn his friend. He thought there was time. His grip tightens. Slightly on the wheel. There wasn't. The air shifts. A soft weight presses into the back seat. Not sudden, not sharp. Just there. Jian feels it but does not turn. He drove this road for years, Jian says. He came back every night. Not because he was brave, because he felt he owed you something. The bend appears ahead. The same tree stands at its edge, roots deep in the soil. The offering bowl is still there, now dark and empty. The meter climbs. $6.20. $6.40. I'm sorry, Jian says. The words hang in the space between the seats. I'm sorry he stayed silent. I'm sorry no one claimed you. I'm sorry you were left here alone. The engine hums evenly. The taxi slows as it reaches the curve. This time, it does not stall. The headlights wash over the tree trunk. The crack in its bark looks lighter in the early dawn. Jayan checks the mirror. At first, he sees only shadow. Then the shape forms slowly. A young woman sits in the back seat. Her hair hangs damp around her shoulders, strands clinging together as if touched by rain. Her face is pale, but not blurred, not unfinished. Her eyes meet his in the mirror. They are dark and tired, but they are not searching anymore. Jayan feels his breath catch, yet he does not look away. She does not speak. The meter reaches $7.80, the same number as before. Jayan nods slightly. I can't change what happened, he says softly. But I can say it out loud. It was wrong. The air grows warmer. The scent of earth fades, replaced by something lighter, almost like clean rain. The woman's gaze softens, her lips part slightly. For a moment, no sound comes. Then she speaks. Not loud, not near his ear. Her voice fills the cab evenly. Drive. Jen blinks. Where? He asks. Her eyes shift toward the road ahead. Forward the word settles into him. Not a street name, not a lost KMPO. Angie just forward. The first thin line of sunlight breaks through the trees. Pale gold slips across. The windshield touching the dashboard. The meter flickers once, then it resets. $0.00. The back seat grows lighter in the mirror. The woman's outline softens her hair. No longer looks wet. Her eyes close gently as if in rest. Then she is gone. The seat is empty. No indentation. No shadow. Only the quiet hum of the engine and the faint glow of early morning. Jian drives through the bend without stopping. The road beyond feels shorter. The trees seem less crowded, the air clearer. When he reaches the stretch near the old bus stop, the sky has turned pale blue. Birds begin to call from somewhere deep in the branches. He does not look at the mirror again. He keeps his eyes on the road as he exits the night. Route and the estate buildings come back into view. The city feels closer than before. Alive, moving, ordinary. He pulls into the taxi stand and turns off the engine. The silence that follows is gentle, not heavy. Jian steps out of the cab and looks back toward the road he came from. It stands as it always has. Now quiet, lined with trees, but it does not feel watchful anymore. It feels still. The sun rises slowly above the rooftops, warming the pavement. Jian removes his father's jacket from the passenger seat and folds it carefully. He places it on the dashboard for a moment, then takes it with him. The bend will remain. The tree will remain. The story will remain. But the waiting is over. Jayan closes the car door and walks toward the stand as morning settles fully around him. Behind him, the night route rests in silence, not empty, just at peace.